Right, so this is our management project, I think, something like that. And we basically have just a bar to start. So we started off with the year with some Christmas card designs. So we prepared for the time when we do Christmas sales in December. And this one I don't have much in. I couldn't recreate the prints. Unfortunately, I was even considering on just not having this in here, but I'm just going to include everything. So I'll just explain. So these are some designs I came up with for the Christmas card, um, and I have this sort of salad fingers inspired character wearing a Christmas costume. I've got this character here who's a penguin. He's a suicidal penguin, but in the end, I thought that wasn't family friendly enough because well, it's a suicidal penguin. And this is the lino cut that I did, or print. Not no, it's not the print. It's the cut. And the print I did in red, and I even got this design which I didn't like at the back. But yeah, it's I did it in red in well, printing ink, just regular old printer ink, and I did that 10, 12 times. I think no, it was 10 times, and I sold about 6, and each one was sold for about £1. So that's the first project. The next project, which is a bit bigger, this is the group project, um, where it says heroes, but it started off we didn't really know what we were doing. We did just some research into some of the artists, well, artists given to us by the tutor. So first artist I looked at was Jeremy Deller. He he's he did this sort of social experiment. Well, not really social. It was more of a recreation or reenactment of this event that occurred during the English Civil War, the Battle of Osgreave, which and he recreated it using with the sort of modern theme going on with riot police versus protesters or rioters sort of clashing, and the police would represent the royalists during the English Civil War, and the rioters represented the parliamentarians during the English Civil War, sort of matching each of those classes, except parliamentarians were more like nobles, but it still sort of was the people versus the royalty, the establishment kind of vibe. So that was his. That's Jeremy Deller's. It was called the Art Angel for some reason, and it had several nicknames such as Battle of Osgreave and what was the other one? English Civil War Part Two. Right, next artist we have Suzanne Lacey. Uh, so she's this quite feminist figure, strong feminist figure. She looks at all the sort of injustices that still occur, or inequalities that still occur with women in our society, such as unreported rape crimes or censorship that occurs for females, or sort of suppressing them, all that kind of stuff. And it's more like social issues that still have a place in our society that ought not to, and she's sort of protesting that through her artwork in these sort of public displays. All right, next we've got Tim Rollins and the KOS. Uh, so he takes a lot of inspiration from George Orwell, hence his work involves a lot of politicians' heads on some animals. So that's a reference to George Orwell's Animal Farm. So that was my main that was my favorite bit about his work with these people. but it's more, it's mostly just stuff on well, I already said what it was, so yeah, just sort of satirically protesting against the establishment, politics, and that kind of stuff. So he's sort of giving the common folk a picture on what his views are and what's wrong with our society. All right, I'll move on to the next guy. So this is a Polish person called, I'll try and pronounce this, I'll probably butcher the name, Krzysztof Wojtek. I probably butchered that. Never mind. He did this. So we looked at the homeless vehicle project that he did, which is this sort of. Why do I keep saying sort of? Why do I keep saying that? He made this portable bed for homeless people or shelter for homeless people that they could bring. It's sort of a prototype, I guess you could call it. Um, an idea he came up with to help to give shelter to homeless people. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about this one. I'll just move on. I mean, about the guy himself, I'll talk about that. He's a lot more anti-war kind of guy, so he's trying to protest all that stuff through books he's written, and he's quite on board with the social justice and disapproving with about homelessness and trying to raise awareness about that and trying to help them in any way he can. And I think in terms of context behind why he thinks the way he does, Poland during World War II was invaded by Germany and Russia. So through that and throughout Poland's history, it's been invaded by all sides. Before then, for a whole century, Poland didn't even exist. It was partitioned between the Prussians, the Habsburgs in Austria, and the Russian Empire. And then for a whole century it was just like that. And the First World War was atrocious because for the Polish people because they were fighting themselves, because they were part of armies fighting against each other, the Russian Poles versus the German Poles, but they were all Polish. It was so, in the Polish mindset, war is it's something they want to avoid at all costs, as they were firsthand experienced the horrors that it caused, due to the fact of its location being in the northern European plains. So that's the context behind, or the reasoning behind this guy, or why he thinks the way he does. Okay, next we got Mierli Laderman Euclides. Pretty eccentric name. A very fascinating, or interesting, I should say, project, The Social Mirror. So it's a van with a mirror on it, just to show everyone themselves, I guess, and just give everyone, I guess, a mirror, really. What am I on about? Oh yeah, I think something else to point out is that this mirror is a dumper truck covered in a mirror. Uh, I guess to make people notice the dumper truck more. You know, the fact it carries around trash that'll be dumped somewhere. In a way, it kind of represents preventing pollution as well as having a spot full of pollution sacrificed so that everywhere else cannot be so polluted. It's also the fact that dumper trucks tend to look really, well, unpleasant, and to make one a mirror is a sort of a view on us as well. Maybe it's a way of showing ourselves as not making us look, or ourselves sort of hiding our unpleasantness, and is in our daily lives we tend to just make ourselves look better. So the mirror was showing ourselves what we actually look like in public, compared to what we ideally think we look like in public. So that's just my take on it. Okay, so that's the artist done. I'll move on to the idea making on what we as a class was going to do.